Good evening. Good evening, everyone. It is so good to see everybody. I'm going to give it a few minutes, let people come into the room. We're going to talk a little bit with the author of The Top Shelf Wife. Her name is Dr. Angela Carswell. So we're going to chat a little bit with her about her book, The Top Shelf Wife. And good evening. Come in. Thank you. So tonight's live is predominantly for the ladies. If the gentlemen want to join us, great. I'm just going to wave at you as you come in. Okay, just to let you know that I see you. All right, but we are predominantly talking to the ladies tonight and giving them some good tips and some good tools on how to prepare for becoming a wife. Okay, everyone here knows that I support marriage. I support intentional dating or courting. I support marriage. And so I'm super excited to have connected with Dr. Angela and talk with her a little bit about her book, The Top Shelf Wife. All right, so come in. She's going to be joining us shortly. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the premises in her book, which was very interesting. I got a lot out of it. One of the things we're going to talk about is the 5 support and nurture categories. So we're going to talk about that. Come in. Thank you. If you could do me the biggest favor ever and let me know your first name or the city, state, and country that you're coming to me from. If you don't want to share your first name, that's fine. Let me know where you are coming to us from. I always get a kick out of seeing where everyone is tuning in from. So your city, your state, your country, that would be wonderful. Please share tips on hosting holidays as well. Okay. I don't know if y'all know this, but I am a huge fan of hosting my friends and my family. I love get-togethers. I love game night. My next game night is coming up. It's on December 16th. I love having people over. I really do. Thank you. Okay. Thank you from Hampton. I love having people over. That's like one of my most favorite things. And I love connecting people. That's a big reason why I love hosting is I love bringing together like diverse groups of people. All right. Colorado Springs, welcome. So I just love having people over. New York. Thank you. The LBC. All right. Thank you. Let me know where you're coming to us from. City, state, country. Okay. You can share your first name or not. You don't have to. But I love a good get together. I love having people over. I absolutely adore connecting diverse groups of people. I know a lot of different people, and that's what people usually say when they come to my house. Like, oh my gosh, you know so many different people. And I'm like, yes. And I love bringing diverse groups of people together. I love seeing people eat good and have fun and laugh and drink. I just love it. I absolutely love it. Chicago is joining us. Tell me where you're from, city, state, or country. Thank you. I'm just waving to you as you come in. And I'm going to wait for our guest to join us so we can talk a little bit about her book called The Top Shelf Wife. All right. A lot of women that I work with or that I talk with, they're always wondering, how do I get prepared to be a wife? What does that look like? And especially now, we're seeing more and more women that don't have the skills that, my mother, my grandmother, all my aunts, I got those skills like, that was second nature. Whereas now we're seeing women that just don't have a clue. They don't have a clue of what being a wife entails. And so one of the things that I really loved about Dr. Angela's book is that it literally gave like this blueprint. And I learned some things. I mean, there are lots of things in here that I'm already doing, but I learned some things. I learned some things from it as well. All right. So let me see if I can bring her on. Let me see. All right. So Angela, you're going to have to click that camera icon so that you can request to be in the video, and then we will get started. For those of you coming in, let me know what city, state, or country that you're coming to us from. I love to see that. But if you click that little camera icon with the plus in it, it will ask you, you'll be asked to join, and then that way I can put you in. All right, and let me see if it will let me. Oh, I know how to invite you to join. Okay, I'm just figuring out my. There we go. All right, Detroit, thank you. Well, we're going to just talk for a little bit about this wonderful book and the author. Okay, I'm going to let her join. But it is called The Top Shelf Wife. And there's a much longer title, and I'm going to have her tell you that. Okay, so I am waiting for her to join us. Okay, there we go. And she's also written some workbooks. She has some workbooks. Okay. All right. It is so there's the comment section, then right beside it. There we go. There we go. All right. And you have to turn your camera around. There we go. All right. I see you. Okay. Everybody else can see her too, hopefully. Workbook. All right. Dr. Angela, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Getting my technology figured out.
Okay.
I was trying to do it on my laptop,
Okay.
but I'm on my phone, so we're good.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. All right. Well, tell my followers a little bit about you, and then we're going to jump in and talk a little bit about your book called The Top Shelf Wife.
Okay. My name is Dr. Angela Carswell. I have a degree, a doctorate in education. So for about 15 years, that was my life, teaching in middle school. So after that, I was graciously retired by my husband at 48. And we have, since then, I've been supporting my family. And so in that journey, I've been having a lot of time to reflect, a lot of time to have very detailed conversations with my village, my cousins, my daughter, my mom, and so forth. And so this particular project has really kind of taken me by storm, unexpected, because I do find that I feel so passionately about the time that we have with our families and our daughters to be able to teach them and to be mentors in the community as far as family goes. So this project was an offshoot of that. A friend of mine, my soror, had told me several times, like, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. And of course, I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. But eventually, I think the spirit of it really just settled in with me. And now here we are. So I'm thankful for the journey, and I'm thankful for you to have me on your show.
Awesome. And Dr. Angela, you are married. How long have you been married?
I have been married now going on 6 years,
All right.
and then 15 previously.
Oh, okay. And I
So
think I
20.
read that you're in your second marriage. Okay. I think I did read that. Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. And that's what we want. We want to learn. We want to learn from those who are in the trenches. That I think that's super important that more married folks kind of share their story and share what the journey is really like. I think we have a lot of people, especially in the relationship space, who have never been married, but they're sharing their thoughts and opinions about relationships. And so I'd like to connect with more people who are married, and they can, honestly share their thoughts about their marriage journey. So that's great. All right.
Yeah.
So I was able to pull out some nuggets from your book. I'd love for you to talk about the 5 support and nurture categories. So I actually printed out it is by category. Here's 100 ways to start now. I thought this was great, and I needed it myself as kind of like a little checklist. But I'd like for you to talk about each of those categories. Tell us a little bit about it and the skill set. So um, this, what I printed out has the category, the skill set, and then it says practice what I will for growing comfort and authenticity. And then there's a number there and a focus month. So yeah, talk to us a little bit about the 5 support and nurture categories.
Okay. The chart that you have is kind of a culmination. It's in the appendix part.
Yep.
So what I did was I applied my kind of teaching background and the study of relationships. In the first part of the book, I go through in chapter 2 and actually say how these 5 areas are supported biblically.
Mm,
And it was important for me to not come across as an expert,
right.
because I feel like we all, if we're doing life well, we're all learning, we're all transitioning, we're all improving. And so that was important, that the foundation is not just this is what I think. The foundation is from a biblical perspective. So I want to say that first and foremost.
Mhm.
The 5 areas spring from yourself and they radiate out,
Mm,
just like light does. It starts from the source and it radiates out. So the first category is nurture the soul. And I'll just briefly talk about each one and then
okay.
pause in case there's either questions or you have something that you want to add. Is that okay?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So the first one is nurture the soul. And it's a very important one for beginning a relationship.
Mhm.
Just because I am the springboard for balance in my life. And how I do that is all that I can give to anybody else.
Mhm.
You know, we can't give what we don't have. We
Right.
can't give what we haven't learned. We can't give what we haven't experienced. So the nurture the soul is really where it starts.
Mhm.
So the first one is words of assurance.
Okay.
And um, it's different than words of affirmation for me. And so how I think about it is, you know, you see several times biblically where the word assurance is used. Blessed assurance, surely, surely goodness and mercy. Allowing yourself to grow the verbiage in your own head to assure yourself um,
Mhm.
is something that is very important. And the way that we talk to ourselves as a counselor and a therapist, I'm sure you'd agree. The way that we talk to ourselves is so important for where we're going and where we are.
Right.
So that's the first concept. The second one is easy smiles. Me, I am notorious for being in my work, and the way that my mouth somehow forms, it's like a
Mhm.
frown, but it's not. So I have to be have easy smiles. It invites ourselves to change our perspective, and it uplift it like our mouth turns up. It uplifts our spirit
Right.
in a seamless way, really. Um, the third one is open-heartedness,
Mm.
and just being able to receive love and to receive unafraid.
Right.
How many times do we get a compliment like, oh, I like your shirt? Instead of just saying that, it's like, oh, this old thing. That's, I've really cut off the compliment at that point. So
Yeah.
being open-heartedness and being able to receive love, it takes some of us some work, especially if we've been in the control mindset, if we've been in the I'm going to do it myself mindset. It's sometimes difficult to receive things and just appreciate and say thank you.
Right.
So open-heartedness is the third one. The fourth I listed is respect of God or higher power.
Mhm.
From the first part, it begins biblically, but from then on in the book, it's really for anybody. I
Right.
didn't want to stifle people in the journey who didn't necessarily have the same spiritual walk as I do.
Mhm.
So, respect of God or higher power kind of deals with that. It deals with some natural ways that people connect with the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the fourth one. And then the fifth one is, I saved the best for last on this one. The fifth one is feminine voice.
Right.
And it's something that nowadays you see so many viral videos. Oh my God. I don't care if it's the cheesecake girl,
Yeah.
the oyster girl, the what's the new one? The Olive Garden girl.
Right. Right.
Um, the feminine voice is so powerful because we don't physically have the strength. What we
Mm-hmm.
have is our voice. And so I like to think of it like a siren.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on your background, you might think of siren in two different ways primarily. One, Greek mythology, there's the
Mm-hmm.
story of the sirens that call the sailors to the shore. And that her
Right.
voice is so soothing and so beautiful that they just are flocked to it. They're drawn to it, right? That's the one kind of siren.
Yeah.
The other siren is what we typically think of. It's just a siren outside. There's an emergency, it's 911, it's the ambulance is coming, that type of siren.
Yeah.
Well, we're called to do both. We're called to warn, and we're called
Okay.
to have wisdom, and we're called to speak it in a way that people can receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that feminine voice, I'm never a person to say that women should just be quiet.
Right.
I think there is a misconception that if I'm going to be submissive, and I know that's triggering for
Yeah.
some people, but if I'm going to be heard in this relationship and I'm going to feel valued for my contribution isn't physical, nor is it physical. It's not money.
Right.
So my contribution is my voice,
Mm-hmm.
and how I maneuver and what I add. And if I can't speak it in a way, nobody's going to receive it. Not my
Right.
children, not my husband, not the community. And so those five round out the first nurture the soul concept.
So words of assurance, easy gaze smiles, open-heartedness, respect of God or higher power, and feminine voice. I love all of those, all of those. And I want to see women start to learn how to embody all of those. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's an interesting journey. I have some people that I coach along the way, and the feminine voice and the words of assurance are things that we have difficulty with
Mm,
naturally because of the take charge society that we live in. I shouldn't have to have words of assurance with who, like, I shouldn't have to
right,
say,
right,
you know, bolster you. I shouldn't have to do that. And you don't have to. If you want someone to really want to give you their 110%, then you might want to consider it.
right, right. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
next category.
Next category is support a husband.
Okay.
Um, and
And
this
this is
one,
the
like I
one
said, it
y'all need to listen now. If y'all future wives, I want you to listen to this.
and they're all important.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't necessarily want to be like, if you're not in the market right now, all of these things will help you along your journey as a wife, as a mother, as a coworker, as a sorority person, as whatever it is. But they're more. So Let me get on to that. Support a husband.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is sexually fit,
Mm,
and I was intentional in not saying and making sure that I wasn't necessarily demeaning or putting people down for their physical characteristics.
right,
Sexually fit is a mindset, and it's also being flirty. It's also the
right.
style that you have,
Yep.
that I want to show you, but I don't want to show you everything.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I don't, I have a rule with that I taught my daughter growing up is that, you're going out, be cute, be fabulous. I am not here to squelch anybody's greatness. Trust
Right.
me. I was 20 years old one time, and so I know.
Yep.
But you don't want to show everything. You get one focal point a night.
Yep.
Sorry. You can show your legs
Yep.
or you can show your upper part,
Your
but
shoulders.
we
Yep.
don't
I
need,
was taught the
right,
same
your
thing. We don't need
shoulders.
all of it. Right.
We don't need all of it out. It's
Right.
too
I was
much.
told the
It's
same thing. Yep. Focus on one thing, but that's it. Yep.
That's it. That's it. Have some
Okay.
boundaries.
Mm.
Have some boundaries. So that was the first one, sexually fit. It does go into the fact that you should have some kind of physical outlet for
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's playing tennis, walking out in the neighborhood, going to Pilates class, doing some things on YouTube,
Yep.
but you do want to do that. And it shows it's not 100% about what you look like, because we all know that everybody can find somebody that likes how they look, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it shows someone your level of discipline
Mm-hmm.
in what you don't necessarily want to do. I don't want to get up. I don't want to work out. Like, I'm not a workout person. Like, I will literally eat less so that I don't have to work out.
Right.
Like, that's my balance. Eat a lot, work out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing those. So, it takes all of that in consideration. The
Okay.
second one is joyfully helpful.
Ooh.
That's about just offering to be there for people.
Mm-hmm.
Just offering that. And it shouldn't require money, to be honest. It could be a
Mm-hmm.
conversation. It could be the fact that I ask you questions, that I'm interested in what it is that you're doing.
Right.
The third one in the support a husband category is active listener.
Ooh, ladies,
Um,
listen now. Listen right here. Right here. This is where there's some stumbling right here. Yeah,
it
go
is
ahead.
very difficult. And again, I by no means am all of these at any one given time. Like, I constantly work on being an active listener and waiting for people to finish speaking, or making sure that I'm giving them the respect of silence.
Mm,
And in a relationship, if you want someone to really give you their all and to provide for you to the level that you necessarily don't have to worry or
yeah,
concern about providing for yourself, the least you can do is really be an active listener. Listen to
yeah,
what's being said and listen to being said.
right.
Um, so making sure that I don't care about, like, there's so many things. If you knew my husband, there's so many things I don't
Right.
really, but I feel his thoughts.
Yeah.
And so, because of that, it's my job to be an active listener for his hopes, for his dreams, for his aspirations, for the things that he might be struggling with and will never say.
Yeah.
All of those things are included in that active listening. And you can do that now. Like, you can do that at work. Like, that's something that you can practice at any point in time. And I suggest people
Mm-hmm.
practice these things before they even find the one. Because when you
Right.
find the one, it's too late. I'm just going to be
Yeah.
honest. It's too late because
Yep.
you're fumbling. You're
Yep.
fumbling the bag, and he already knows what he wants. He's already in a position to be able to acquire you,
Right.
to take care of you, to listen to you. And again, I saw something that you had, was it today? Um, a lot of these men are becoming, because they're listening and because they're open,
Right.
they're spending time on being emotionally intelligent.
Yep. Yep.
And it's a sad thing when you have the man or anybody really that wants to be there and wants to open to you, but because you haven't handled it, whatever it is, whether it's the talking, the
Yeah.
quiet, the respect, whatever, I got to get myself together. But
Right.
I've been single for 8 years, but now I need to get myself together.
Right.
And that's not how we want to do things, ladies. It's just
Yeah.
not.
Yep.
So, so being that active listener is important, is very important. Being accepting, and this is a two-pronged type of item also.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dating, people in the past have said, well, you just accept anything, or you're just telling me to accept anything. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that when you're dating, you accept people for where they are,
Right.
and you accept them up until the point where they show you, I'm not the one, and then you let them go to the wayside,
That's it.
you know, quickly, not after
That's
months,
it. Yeah.
quickly. And so you accept people as they are because you want to experience people as they are. You want to experience as many people as you can in an emotional way, in how they carry themselves. How do they make space for me? How are they present with their family? All of those things. I want to see and I want to accept as many experiences as I can. Now, now keep your legs closed while you're doing
Right.
this.
That's right. That's right.
But I want to be non-judgmental and
Mhm.
accept who comes to me because that's how you figure out where you are.
Yeah.
That's how you figure out what kind of man you're drawing to you and
Right.
what kind of person that, you draw who you are to you. And so you accept people where they are. And if you're not having those people that you feel you're worthy of being drawn to you, then you need some upgrades,
Mm.
and you have to accept that. Like, this is who I'm drawing. I need to figure out why, and I need to accept that and make the provisions.
Right. And one of
So,
the things I wanted to speak on about this is women have a tendency to create a fantasy. Like they have a fantasy in their head about who this man could be, instead of, like you said, just accepting who he is. So they make up this fantasy of who this man could be, right? And instead I say, no, who is he right now? Like, scratch the fantasy. Accept where he is now. We're not going to date for potential, but he could be so much. No, who is he right now? Accept who he is right now.
right now, and you accept who he presents himself to you as, but you also need to accept how he shows up for his children. How does
Mm,
he accept how he shows up to his parents? How does he
right.
show up to his friends? How does he show up to his fraternal organizations? How does he
Yeah.
show up to his job? All of those, when you're dating, you looking at all of those and you're
Mhm.
choosing, do I accept these?
Right.
Okay, and you have choices.
Yep. Yep.
I've had again two husbands, and I've chosen well, I feel, for myself. Um, and I say that to say the second time I got married, I dated for almost 9 years.
Mm,
And so I almost made a sport out of it. It was a job. Like
yeah.
I knew I was a wife
Yeah.
previously, even in my divorce, I knew I
Mhm.
was a wife.
Right. Right.
I am a wife.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset is if we can get women and ourselves to really embrace, like, this is what I want, and
Yep.
I'm going to speak it. I'm a wife,
Yeah.
and I'm going to only accept wife behavior from the people that I date.
Yep. That's it.
And when you're dating, that's the one acceptance. But when you're actually married, because there are some married people that may pick up this book for whatever reason, it's
Mhm.
intriguing. They know that they kind of are in a masculine space and they may want to tap into their femininity a bit more.
Mhm.
Once you accept that proposal and you accept that marriage, you move into a different type of acceptance. You have to
Mm,
accept him how he is
right.
because you had all the time before to vet. Now you have to move into how do I accept this man? And you can't know people as as much as we all think that we're dating, we know somebody, we want to get married. You don't know them
Right. Right.
because you don't know every situation that you're going to find yourself in. the loss of a job, the loss of a parent, a loss of whomever,
Right.
or the gaining of status, the gaining of money, any of those things, positive or negative, will change and affect who that person is.
Right.
So after the marriage, your job is to accept who they are and what they bring to you. Be grateful of the efforts that he is providing for you. Accept how he has chosen to provide for you and show up in the space emotionally with you.
And I think I had wrote a note. Yeah, I wrote a note where you had talked a little bit in your book about reciprocity. And you said that respect the ways he has chosen to provide what is present and his program for the future. And I think that is incredibly important. I'm always teaching women that I'm not going to, a man brings what he brings to me. I'm not going to say, oh, I want to go here. I want to do this. No, whatever he's bringing, I need to decide. I need to decide if I'm going to accept it or reject it. But what I find women will do is they're like, I don't like the dates he plans, or I don't like where we go, or I don't like, okay, because to me, if this is him, you're basically saying, it's almost like you're saying, I don't like you. I don't accept you. I don't accept who you are. I simply say, you show up, you be sweet, you be beautiful, and let's see what he brings. Let's see what he does. And I want you to figure out, is that for you? Like, is that man and whatever he brings, is that for you? That's it.
Yeah, and having somebody who cares, and this isn't day one because you don't know him and he doesn't know you.
Right.
So when you have time with somebody and you're looking for like how is he showing up and I'm accepting how he's showing up, when there's a level of comfort and there's a level of reciprocity, then you can say or you can figure out in your feminine voice, how can I move him to want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Or how can I move him to understand that these are the places that I like? And he may, if you can't figure out how to use your feminine voice without complaining, without nagging, without saying you ain't doing this and I'm not getting out the car because this isn't blah, 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 blah.
Right.
No, use your feminine voice. Figure out how to say it lovingly and with some wisdom.
Right.
And if he can't internalize how you're speaking to him or the concepts that you're bringing to him or whatever, then that's like to me, those are the types of deal breakers.
Yeah.
The fact that I can't speak to you and you understand how we can move together.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you got to do what I say, but can you give value to what I'm bringing and what I'm saying going forward?
Right. Right.
And the last one in this section is a lifelong learner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's extremely important when you're talking about being with, if you're a type of person that you're like, oh, I deserve this type of life, with someone who's providing this and I need a soft life. I'm a soft life
Mm-hmm.
wife and that's great. I do not begrudge anybody their dream, but just know that the more provision that you require, that you want, you have to show up for that person on that level.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
requires sometimes learning.
Yep.
If you want a mogul, then you might want to start now, like go to some real estate classes, join some real estate groups, figure out how to do some trading or market analysis or whatever. But when
Mm-hmm.
he's talking about his dreams and aspirations and you don't have a clue
Right.
of what they mean, that's not going to do well.
Yeah.
It's just not going to do well. So being a lifelong learner isn't, it's about figuring out like, okay, I can be interested in real estate. I can be interested in nature. I can be interested in these 15 things. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that going in. I have a confidence about how I show up intellectually.
Right, right.
And now, because I know about these 15 things and I've kind of done a little bit of research here and there, and they are interesting to me, I've just broadened my scope of men that I can interact with
Right,
just
right.
based on that. But for me to come home and watch reality TV, then
Ooh,
binge watch this, and then
Lord.
get on Instagram and scroll, if I'm wasting my afternoons and my
Mhm.
evenings and my weekends,
Yep,
that's the type of guy that I can pick up
yep.
because he isn't going to be talking about anything
Right.
because I can't contribute anything to any conversation.
Mhm. And they know how
So
I
that
feel
like
about that. Yeah, the ladies on my channel, they know how I feel about not being interesting, not having hobbies or interests, or yeah, I'm obsessed with being better. I am obsessed with learning and growing. And so, yeah, I've been getting on them about that for a while, that you should have something that's interesting about you or something to share to the conversation, for sure, for sure.
right.
Okay, I
And it,
love
it
that.
bleeds over into other areas, like even
Right.
like the supportive family that comes next.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have any.
All right, any
And if you're
questions? Oh, I got a that's a fact. Any questions about anything we've discussed thus far? If you have any questions, um we're going into category, is it 3, support a family?
3,
Yep.
supportive
And
family.
I want you to listen, because I find that a lot of women, 35 and under, they really struggle in this area. The 35 and under women that I have, they're struggling in this, support a family and support the plan. That's what we're about to talk about.
Okay, so the supportive family um, comes naturally after husband, right?
Mhm.
And this one is it's going to balance your household
Mm,
in a feminine way. Healthy eating. Like one of the things that I believe is that you show people how you love them by what you feed them.
for sure.
If if I'm feeding you a bunch of BS, if I'm feeding you fast food, if I'm feeding you lies, whatever it is, whatever I'm feeding you, it tells how much I love you. And
Yeah.
so the longevity of eating well is important for us to be able to build generationally. A lot of these things, for me, they hinge on how we need to have generational wealth.
Hmm.
And we typically think of in our communities generational wealth, and even with, just in general, generational wealth is money.
Right.
But by the state of our relationships and the state of our divorce rate, the state of our baby mamas,
Hmm.
we have to start treating relationships as a point of generational wealth um, to mitigate the counseling, to mitigate the traumas, to mitigate the single family homes. And so this supportive family is important to me for that reason.
Yeah.
The first one, healthy eating, definitely leads to longevity. It leads to the health of the family. And for me, dating, I can't tell you how many people, and I probably shouldn't say how many people, but I'm gonna tell this one story.
Yeah.
So I'm spending time with somebody, and I'm like, hey, why don't you come over to eat?
Hmm.
Because that's part of the reciprocity.
Right.
I'm not gonna open my purse at a date. I'm just not. I'm not gonna ask if I can get the tip. I'm just not going to
Yeah.
ask. But I make it a point to show up in relationships with other things, with my feminine value adds. And
Hmm.
so I said, okay, let me go ahead and find and fix food.
Yeah.
So I'm fixing like I'm preparing to cook, and he's like, well, what are we having? I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna make some spaghetti.
Hmm.
And I use chicken. He's like, oh, good. You gonna use beef? no, I use chicken. Like I don't cook with beef anymore, and I haven't for years. Well,
Mhm.
what if I want beef? And what if I want steak? And what if I want this? And what if I want that? So what did that tell me?
Mhm.
He can't receive, like we can't work out. We can't
Yeah.
work out because he can't receive and he doesn't value his health,
Mm.
first of all. He doesn't value his own health, nor does he value the fact that I'm conscious about how I show up with my
Yeah.
health. And you won't even allow me to care for you in that way.
Right.
And so that healthy eating, I was just like, no, red
Yeah.
flag. Somebody said it in the comment, red flag.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
no.
Yep. That's how I feel about soda drinkers. That's how I feel about people who eat out all the time. It is a red flag. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had
So,
a gentleman that I was dating, and this was years ago. I invited him to dinner with my family, and we had prepared a huge, I mean, we are all Southern cooks, a huge Southern meal, a traditional Southern meal. And he came in, and I noticed he came in through the side door, and he was throwing a bag away in the trash. And I said, "Hey," I said, "Oh, you're in time for dinner." And I said, "What was that you just threw away?" I looked in my trash can, and there was a McDonald's bag. And I was like, "I know you just didn't eat McDonald's on your way." Like,
so
I was
disrespectful.
like, "Yeah, this ain't gonna work out." Like,
So
no,
disrespectful.
very, like, oh my goodness, like, oh no. Yeah, I was like, that's how I knew. That's how I knew that was not gonna work out. So I've invited you to a home cooked meal and you ate McDonald's before you got here? Yeah, no. No.
That's
So
terrible.
uh-uh.
And even still, even if you did, like, that part is one thing, but you should have left that in the car.
No. So
Like,
that
don't
I was,
even, like, yeah, don't be brazenly disrespectful.
yep.
Uh,
I was like,
so,
no, this
yeah,
ain't gonna work out. This ain't gonna
yeah,
work out.
so,
You're
mm-mm,
right. And see, I
yeah,
come from a family where food is love. Like that's how we show our love is by cooking and feeding you. Yeah.
right, right.
Yep.
So, the second one is assertive nurturing.
Mm,
And this is a concept of being inclusive with others, like
mm,
being able to anticipate needs.
mm.
Assertive nurturing, it's amazing to me how many people are just like hands off.
Yeah.
Like that's his problem. And they're in the same household. They'll figure it
Right.
out. Even like a mother to a child, like he'll figure it
Yeah.
out. She'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And, my perspective is, children are in our homes for such a short period of time,
Right.
that, it's all of these in this section particularly have to do with nurturing in that way. It's just understanding that our children are with us for short periods of time and that all of these concepts are ways and means to really impact how they grow up,
Right.
what they're eating. Are you being assertive in their lives?
Mm-hmm.
Solutions oriented, like how I solve solutions and talk them through, lays the foundation for them to be able to be solutions oriented
Right.
in their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bit of creativity with that being solutions oriented. And as wives, as women, like that's one of our strengths is that creation part.
Right.
Creation, creative, that's our bag.
Yeah.
So as much as we can show up in that manner, that's something that men who typically, I understand there's exclusions, but
Yeah.
typically men are very singular focused.
Right.
Like they're singularly focused on what they're doing. They're singularly focused on provision and
Mm-hmm.
showing up and those sorts of things. So as much as we can flow like water
Yeah.
in and out of situations, offering solutions, offering some nurturing,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of what that balance or reciprocity is about.
Right.
The fourth one is calm under pressure.
Mm.
Um, And it's, it's
Work on
now
that.
we see it.
Yeah.
We
We gotta
see it
work
so
on that.
often that like mama is going off. She's
Right.
raging and this and that and the third and it's cussing and flying and da da
Yep.
da.
Yep.
And you can't have feminine voice with that.
Nope.
It's not like I understand the feelings, feel all the feels.
Yeah.
As a wife, as a mom, feel all the feels. I got you. But you're emotionally, a lot of times you're the emotional sounding board. And if I'm sporadic, and I'm chaotic in how I communicate, who's going to listen to me?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
I'm so thankful that my children are 24 and 27,
Hmm.
but they listen. Like we
Right.
have, 2-hour conversations about what they're going through and so forth. I had to build that. I had to build that equity and trust as a parent that I'm not going to go off on you.
Right.
I'm not going to judge you. I need to know
Yep.
what's going on so we can talk through it. And so
Yeah.
now sometimes I'm like, oh Lord, I think I've done this too much because I don't want to hear this. I don't
Right.
want
They
to
tell
hear
the
what's going
replay. Right. Right.
on. Right. Sometimes I'm like, oh, let there be a fence between me and them. But, but generally, um, and they do sometimes flow like the conversation gets off track and
Hmm.
I don't want to hear some of it just because it's sometimes not appropriate. But I'm thankful that they know that I'm there for them
Yeah.
because I've been calm and I've helped them. And so now there's a level of trust where I can truly mentor them. I
Right.
can truly mentor them.
Yeah.
And that's just wonderful for me. Like I love that about being that flow for them
Yeah.
to get back
Yeah.
on track.
Yep. Yep.
The last one in support the family is homemaking.
Yep.
And I got a lot of pushback on this when
Oh,
I
of
had my
course.
read group.
Of course. Of course.
And it doesn't mean that, I got to quit my job and be a homemaker.
Right. Right.
I mean, if that's what you want, if that's the ambition that your person has, and
Hmm.
you aspire to be the nurturing heartbeat of your family, fine. But that's not what this
Yeah.
is saying. This is
Yeah.
just having a home that's comfortable and that's
Right.
organized and that has sustainable routines. It needs to have sustainable routines. And those are some of the things that, kind of are missing in some households. It's like, and that's how we get overwhelmed as women because even before I was teaching, as I told you, and my kids knew we're washing clothes on Thursdays.
Yep.
We're cleaning up around the house on Saturday morning.
Right.
We are eating before 7 o'clock. Like
Yep.
there are some sustainable routines.
Hmm.
If you can't have as a single person sustainable routines within your household and it's just you, how are
Yeah.
you going to add a husband? How are you going to add a dog? How are you going to add
Ooh,
2.5 kids?
that's right. That's
Um,
right.
and and it may not tell who you are, your characteristics, but again, it's one of those things like healthy eating and sexually fit that
Hmm.
tell your level of discipline in
Right.
an area.
Yep.
And a man who is about his plan and his program, he needs a wife with discipline,
Yep.
at least in some areas, many areas.
Yeah,
So,
but this is one of those things that, like you said, I want to see single women work on now. I want to see your house look presentable. I want you making your bed every day. I want to see your house clean. Like she was stating, have some sort of routines for yourself. This is something you can work on now. You can work on this now. I have made my bed every day for the last 17 years. And every time someone comes to me, they're like, wow, it just looks like a magazine in here. I'm like, yeah, because this feels good to me. It feels good to leave it. It feels good to come back to it. Yeah,
mhm,
that's the level of discipline that I have had. Even my kids, everyone makes fun of me because they're like, yeah, your room is spotless before you leave out. I said, yeah. And I could have anybody come over and come up to, and I'm not embarrassed. You know, and you know how some people will say, "Oh, you know, call before you come because I need to." No, my house is always like that.
Mhm.
My house is
Mhm.
always straight. Like I don't have those
Mhm.
moments where, oh yeah, I need to get my house together. No, my house is together. Like that's just how my house be. So
And
I
there's
don't relate to that because I'm like, yeah, we need to work on that.
and there's levels to it, like for
Yeah,
sure. There's levels to it. And you want a space, for me, I want a space that's inviting and comfortable
yeah,
for my kids. I want a
sure,
space that's comfortable for people who come to visit.
yeah,
And I want a space that is inviting to a masculine person.
oh yeah,
And
sure,
so, like, all of those things kind of go into this. And it's different for everybody.
mm-hmm.
So, like I joined one time this Facebook group that has to deal with organization and
Mm-hmm.
DIY stuff. I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like
Yeah,
this, these people's houses are
serious.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, they
And I felt
serious.
a little threatened, like I felt attacked, but it wasn't that. I just had to look and be like, oh, okay, that's a cute idea. Let me
Yeah,
do that. Or
yeah,
this is a cute ensemble arrangement. Let me do that.
yeah,
But start where you are at your
yeah,
level, what your house looks like, and go from there.
yeah,
And you might find 10 new things that you can do. And then after that, you're like, I'm good. And
yeah.
that's fine too, you know?
Okay, we're
So.
moving on to support the plan.
Okay, support the plan. In this section, it talks about when you're dating somebody and you're spending time with somebody, you want to make sure that you can clearly see what they're about
Mm-hmm.
and um, and what their plan is for their future and
Mm-hmm.
how you can maybe integrate into it. A lot of times we find people that spend a lot of time with other people, but it's like, okay, what does he want? Oh,
Right.
I don't know. You should be able, and it's not really a conversation. You should be able to, if you're spending time with somebody, and I know communication is important, and I'm not saying it's not, but
Yeah.
a lot of these things you need to be able to observe because
Right.
sometimes we ask questions and they know enough to know to tell us what we want to hear.
Right.
Like nobody wants to. So I'm making you lie, basically. If you don't have integrity, I'm asking you questions. I'm just making you lie.
Right.
So
Right.
you come out better by just observing and
Mm-hmm.
turn over every stone, but observe what his plan is. What his plan is for himself, what his plan is for the future, what his plan is for his wife. Does he plan on being a person that, is a 50-50 person?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is he, and right now you might be fine with that. You might be 23 and 24 and whatever, and like, oh yeah, I'm fine contributing. But you need to think 15 years down the road, if I have a child, do I want to still maintain this 50-50 lifestyle?
Right.
And
Yep.
so you need to, and I'm not saying do it on date one, do it on date two. There's ways to, again, use your feminine voice when a situation presents itself. Just say, hey, I would kind of I think it would be really cool that if I had a kid that I stayed home
Right.
at least till they went to, to school
Yeah.
and just look at the reaction,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, just drop, there's a book that I have actually three books.
Mm-hmm.
The other set of books that I have is based on David Dita's The Way of the Superior Man.
Mm-hmm.
And that book is about men finding their purpose and men moving as men and understanding their power in emotional situations, in their life, and so forth. So if you have a guy who isn't clear on where he's going and what you offer and so forth, it's going to be very difficult for him to take on a wife and know what to do.
Right.
Now, he may not say, this is my plan and this is my program, but you should be able to tell in his actions what his priorities are
Mm-hmm.
and how he interacts with those priorities that he's made, not
Right.
what you made,
Right.
what he's made.
Yep.
If you want a man to be able to successfully sustain the financial load, the mental load of the family, you have to know without you prodding him that he's up to the challenge
Right.
for them. And you do that by observing this support the plan. So let me get into it. The
Mm-hmm.
first one with that is easy fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
And that just means whatever his plan is, you need to respect and cooperate with it.
Mm. So
Respect and
listen up,
cooperate with it.
ladies. And you all already know my number one, like safety and security is a woman's number one need. And for me, it is leadership. I cannot be with a man that does not provide leadership and frame. I will not. And
Right.
I mean, that's an easy one for me. It's easy for me to walk away when there is no frame and there is no leadership. So, in order for
Hmm.
there to be easy fellowship, there must be leadership. like that has to precede easy fellowship. And so I tell a lot of men, like, yes, I want to follow, but are you leading? That is super important. So, yes, I love the easy fellowship, but I just let women know I want you to require leadership because the way women are wired, if there is no leadership, that inner boy will jump out and it will begin to lead. It will create frame where there is none.
Hmm.
So I've
Good
seen that
point.
too many times, too many times. Um, But I want women to practice this easy fellowship. I think you can practice it in other ways. So how I learned how to do it is, amongst my girlfriends, or if we're planning something, I've learned how to let other people lead. Like it don't have to be me that's always, oh, well, we should do this, girl. We should go here. I just be listening. And they're like, what
Hmm.
do you think, Anita? Well, whatever y'all, that sounds great. Like practice
Yeah,
doing that, right?
all of it's practice. Like our entire lives are built around practice and protocols.
Yep.
And so, when you're by yourself, it's the perfect time.
Mm-hmm.
You're not dating anybody or whatever the case is, figure that out. You can have easy
Yep.
fellowship with your brother. You can go
Yes.
home and just see, just analyze. Like, do you have easy fellowship in your home environment, like where you grew
Yep.
up, your parents? What kind of fellowship and leadership was there?
Yep.
And you need to know what kind of leader, what kind of man that you work with.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are people who, this part was difficult. Well, one of the things that was difficult in the book is to understand that there are some women who want to be leaders.
Yeah.
That ain't me.
Yeah. Me
I've
neither.
been that, I've kind of
Yeah.
done that and I don't want it anymore. So,
Mm-hmm.
and so my mom or whatever will tell you, like, I just talked to Angie and she just be like, I don't know, ask her husband. I don't know, ask
Right.
him. And I'm like, and I'm very good with that. I'm
Yeah.
very good with that. But then there's other men and women who want to be 50-50.
Right.
And I respect that for you if that's what you want.
Yeah.
But I also know that you cannot get tired. And I
Mm.
want women to know that going into it.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to say or to feel the accomplishment of being in control. I
Mm-hmm.
get that. But you cannot get tired because there's nothing that says when you decide that you're tired that he's going to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
And if that hasn't been the basis of your relationship, it's not fair to assume that when you get tired because now you have two kids, you still working, the house still needs to be clean and the groceries still have to be cooked,
Yep.
that he's going to pick up the slack because that is
Right.
not guaranteed.
Yep. Yep. So,
So,
okay. Organized.
so,
Next one is
so
organized.
the next one is organized, and that's just,
Mm.
for most men, it's wonderful for a woman to smooth out chaos and just order
Mm.
and organize some things, and that's all that is.
Okay.
Opportunity awareness is
Mm-hmm.
the third one under the supportive plan. If I have a plan that I want to be a fisherman or whatever his plan is, I don't know.
Okay.
Your opportunity awareness, you should just always consistently in the back of your mind be looking for tie-ins,
Mm.
looking for ways and things that kind of support the birthday coming up. Do
Mm-hmm.
you actually say like, hey, do you think your husband would like to go fishing? Because my husband has a fishing boat and he does
Yeah.
that, part time or whatever. So are you looking for opportunities within your scope and your influence that
Mm-hmm.
support his plan?
Okay.
Progressive,
Mm-hmm.
that just means opening up. You said it a few moments ago that women love security and we love
Yeah.
comfort.
Yes.
And so being progressive, you may
Mm-hmm.
not have to be progressive yourself, but just don't be that person that if somebody has a suggestion like, hey, I want to do this, no.
Yeah.
Hey, I think this, no. Like that just sounds whatever.
Right.
Um, and there's a balance with how do you use that feminine voice to actually um, affirm what they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
listen to what the plan is, have some apply your organization to it, and then accept kind of okay, this is what it is,
Yeah.
and that offers a kind of freedom of thought that a lot of people who do want comfort and they want things to stay the same, which a lot of women do, that can
Mm-hmm.
sometimes be difficult.
Okay.
Lastly, support the plan is to be appreciative. Be grateful
Mm.
to the efforts. Be appreciative, just point
Right.
blank. Like say it, be about it. Sometimes you being appreciative may just have to be you being quiet
Mm-hmm.
um, at some point in time because you might have 15 things that you want to say, and now is not the time to say it, or what
Right.
have you, or the tone that you say it. Um, So just being appreciative and grateful of the efforts to be able to provide for you.
Right.
Because it is awesome if you have someone who wants to take that on as a man, as a husband. Just be appreciative of the gifts that he's trying to give you.
Right. And remember, ladies, and I tell everyone that I work with this, every person who comes into my counseling office, I never want to hear this phrase come out of your mouth. And that is, well, you're supposed to do that. Okay. That's the most dismissive thing you can say. Okay. You have chosen this man and he's chosen you. You all are coming together. And I'm always telling people, yeah, you could be living this life alone. You could be, paying bills alone. You could be doing all the household stuff alone. Like you both chose each other. And so I want you to appreciate that. But when someone is doing something or they're providing something and your response, well, you're supposed to do that. Like that's the last thing someone wants to hear. Like,
Right.
yeah, I want you to just appreciate. That's a big one. And I hear that from men all the time. I don't feel appreciated.
Yeah. And it's easy to get into a relationship or a rut where you're not really showing your gratitude.
Right.
And so you want to kind of guard against that,
Yep.
and just be that person that's very thankful.
Yes, please. All right. Then we're moving into the last one. Raise the
Okay.
net worth.
So if you'll notice, we started with the center of the acorn, and it's just nurture the soul, then the
Yeah.
husband, then the family, then his plan. The last one is about community and
Mm,
being able to show up in community.
mm,
Because if you are with a man um, who wants great things, like I'm listening to continually different podcasts from people like up on my other screen is Earn Your Leisure
mm-hmm.
or 19 Keys or Aristotle. Like there's so many men out there now that are trying to take a leadership role in social media and
Yes.
inform the community of this is how we build financial wealth.
Yep.
It's our job to be connective. I feel in wives, and this is what this one is really the connection part. Be friendly. Um,
Mm,
be an easy landing space for others. A
mm.
lot of times you have women be like, "Well, I just don't have women friends." You need to investigate that. You need
Yep,
to investigate that.
yep.
Um, so you need to investigate that. Be an easy landing space for others.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't be an easy landing space for others, you probably also want to go ahead and investigate, like, why do I choose people or friends that I can't commit to, that I
Right.
can't trust,
Mm-hmm.
that aren't giving me the same things that I'm giving them, or
Right.
different things,
Right.
but there's no system of reciprocity in it. Um, so that's the first one, is to be friendly.
Mm-hmm.
To have a confident acceptance.
Mm.
Um, and that's having a confident acceptance of others. Um, everybody doesn't have to be my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But to
Yeah.
be quite honest, if I'm operating in the spirit, I should be able to interact with people and see something in them
Mm-hmm.
that is a light,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't be too quick to judge. Just
Right.
have a confident acceptance of other people and
Right.
the light that they bring, even though they're on a different journey than you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Wall Street Tapper too. Yep. A lightness, a lightness of being. A
Mm.
lightness of being is how you react to things.
Yeah.
Having a lightness. There's some people that walk into the room and they're about to suck all of the air out.
Yep. Yep.
They're about to start complaining. They're about to start saying how, their family is doing this, their job is doing that. Like, it's just everything is run amok.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be that. Like, you want to have a lightness about you. And it's one of the things, quite frankly, that men love about younger women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so
Yep.
it's it's a trade-off. Yeah, they have the lightness of being, but they don't have the wisdom of experience.
Right. Right.
We may have the wisdom of experience, and it's hard for us to keep that vitality and vibrancy as a woman over a certain age.
Right.
And
Right.
so this lightness of being, if you're in your 40s and 40, I was 48 when I got remarried.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, up in age or even younger, some younger may have a problem with this, but if you're up in age particularly, you need to work on having a lightness.
I agree.
Just because you've had to get in the mud and be a lotus flower and get it out the mud and do all this
Right.
stuff.
Right.
You don't, it's an art to being able to live and not project that on other people.
Exactly.
If you have to think about your blessings, if you have to be grateful to God before you go out on that date and calm yourself down and put down your bags,
Yep.
you need to do that
Yeah.
because nobody wants to be, I mean, you yourself, like, you don't want to be around someone who is always reactionary, is always negative, or what have you. So
Right.
just consider how you can do that. How can I foster a lightness of being?
Right. I got a lot of heat from being on the Hardly Initiated podcast when I was talking about, younger men being attracted to me. And so I took a lot of heat for that, but I was trying to explain to them that it is my lightness of being. It is the fact that I am youthful, I am adventurous, I am fun loving. Um, and I've talked about this. I've talked about this with other women, especially women of a certain age, to process. They've got to process their traumas. They've got to process the things they've been through. They've got to shed their skin. I regularly shed my skin. And for the most part, when I meet new people, I offer up a bit of trust. Like, I kind of just willingly give a bit of trust. And until that person shows me differently, I'm like, yeah, I'm not super guarded or have all these walls up, that's just not me. But if
Mm-hmm.
Something happens, I'm like, okay, so you're someone to not be trusted. But for the most
Right.
part, I call myself the goddess of fun and light. That's what I call it. I am the goddess of fun and light. I still ride my bike in the summer. I love being out in my garden and feeding the squirrels. For the most part, I shed my skin. And I definitely encourage that women do that. Like, you cannot keep having all this stuff build up, build up, build up. Yes, it will make you very heavy, very weighed down. Find ways to process the stuff. And it's not that stuff doesn't happen to me, stuff happens to me, but I process it, I let it go, I untether it from me. I think that one is huge. I think our women really need to work on that, and find ways to be that lightness of being. I think that's super important.
Yes, yes. I'm glad that you said um, let go.
Yeah.
Because however you choose to, I use that phrase throughout the book a lot of times. It might be, if you have a problem being joyfully helpful, you
Mm,
need to think about and really ponder why that is, because there's probably some underlying things that you need to let go.
yeah.
And the same thing with this lightness of being, that letting go. And it may be hard because we become so comfortable with our negative mindsets
Right.
that we're comfortable in staying there. And
Yeah.
that a lot of times a lot of times those are the things that are keeping us from connecting with other people because we have that wall up and we're comfortable behind it. So that letting go is very pivotal in so
Yeah.
many of these, because what you're doing is you're really keeping other people from experiencing you.
Right.
And when you meet somebody who's interested in experiencing you, you have no background for accepting that, because you've got all these things that you still are on the back of your mind or the front of your mind.
Right.
So
Yep.
good stuff. Good stuff. The last two are just being connective,
Hmm.
and seeing how you can interact with people. Whether that's you hosting some things. I noticed when you were talking about your homemaking,
Hmm.
even though you're by yourself, once you get your homemaking, like your home is comfortable, start
Hmm.
having some people over. Like
Yep.
start having game nights.
Yep.
If you really want to be top notch, start having co-ed game nights. Do you know
Yeah.
enough single men that you can
Oh, yes, I
invite
do.
10
I
single
got one
men,
coming
10
up.
single
Yep.
ladies?
Yep. I got one coming up. I was telling them about it on December 16th. I'm going to bring together all these people I know and try to hook them up.
Yeah, because honestly, when you're talking about men of a certain caliber,
Hmm.
they're going to have a social status.
Yeah.
And how are you going to practice doing this if not practicing it now?
Right.
So you'll have fun. A lot of times you might make connections,
Yeah.
sure, bring somebody
Yeah.
and you might make a connection through that.
Yeah.
So opening up, your space, opening up being open-hearted to allow people into your space,
Hmm.
because quiet is kept, the longer you're by yourself, it's uncomfortable. It's
Right.
uncomfortable to have people in your house. You're like, wait a minute, why are you touching my stuff?
Hmm.
And you
Hmm.
don't want to be that way,
Right.
you don't want to
Right.
be that way.
Yeah.
And the last one is adventurous, and that's just having a yes mindset.
Right.
So, um, each one of the characteristics,
Mhm.
there's descriptions behind them in the book, and
Okay.
there's also examples of how you can do a lot of these things. Um, a lot of people haven't actually prioritized dating and haven't
Mhm.
prioritized having new experiences.
Right.
And so the book really is a guide to opening up the experiences of nurturing and support, even if there's no one there. Because you
Okay.
can do this stuff with anybody. You can do
Yeah.
this stuff with your
Yeah.
brother, your
Yep.
uncle. One of the things I suggest, well, matter of fact, um, we recently moved, and
Mhm.
so I was in my hometown of Chattanooga, and I told my brother, I was like, hey, I'm gonna come stay with you for a month. And so in that month, I organized things, I cooked, I did, a lot of things. Now, granted, I was married at
Mhm.
the time,
Right,
but it was a wonderful experience, even if I weren't, especially if I weren't married, to be
right.
able to be in a
Yep,
space with a man and do
yep,
these things and practice all of these different beautiful skills that in my own space I'm comfortable with.
right, right.
But
And I
can I
think
offer these things to someone else?
right. And I've always encouraged my ladies, I tell them every man who isn't your husband is someone for you to practice on. So whether it's a male friend, whether it's their adult son, whether it's their father, their brother, their uncle, their grandfather, whether it's a coworker, these are all men that they can practice their skills on.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it takes some intentionality.
Right.
And you have to prioritize, and that's one of the things that I really want to impart on women, period,
Right.
wives or not, is you want to prioritize these relationships, like
Mm-hmm.
these relationship building types of skills. Um, just because not having them, you're shooting yourself in the foot because being a good person isn't enough.
Right.
Like
Right.
being good, I don't, even as a Christian, being good isn't enough.
Right.
We're called to be the salt. We're called to be the example. We're called to be a mentor. We're called to do so many things.
Right.
And so a lot of us are like, well, I'm a good person. I got my stuff. I got my own house. I'll go to work. I got my things. I'm independent. That's fine if you want to stay that way.
Right. And that's a whole lot of women now. I keep telling women this. That's actually a whole lot of women. That's a whole lot of women. It's just like women saying, I look good. I get my nails done. I get my hair done, or I have lashes or whatever. That's a whole lot of women. Like, what else you got? Like,
Right.
what else you got? Okay. Because
And one of
last
the,
I looked, that's a whole lot of women.
yeah, and if you don't have something that you're willing to bring,
Hmm.
you end up having situations where I'm almost an empty vessel. I look real cute
Right.
and I can tell you some things about what's going on Housewives or like I
Right.
rarely watch TV, so I can't even bring
Yeah.
up a TV show to tell you.
Yep.
Um, but I'm an empty vessel. And what happens is a man will see that and they're like, well, she doesn't offer anything else, so I'm
Right.
just use her. I'm gonna just
Right.
use her because that's all she's got.
Yep.
And so once you build these types of skills, there's a confidence that comes with that, and
Hmm.
men see it.
Yep.
And they don't. Like I've never, it sounds ridiculous and sounds kind of cavalier to say, but I've never really had a bad relationship because people
Right.
know when they see me, when they meet me, and when they spend time with me,
Right.
they understand that there's something there.
Yeah.
And I'm also very aware of my value. And
Right.
so I'm like,
Right.
when I see the flags and I see that I can't speak to you because you can't accept it, I see that you don't really want to offer provision. You kind of in and out with your presence.
Right.
Like I'm gone. Like it's not even an issue. It's not even sometimes, yeah, when it happens year after year, time after time, or whatever, you do have some days where you may feel like I'm tired of dating. And
Yeah.
I get that. Like there's no red pill, there's no blue pill, there's no, yellow pill.
Yep. Yep.
That's just part of the game. But if you're growing these skills that are offered in this book, um, and some of the things that I know you guys hear from Anita, you'll have a more fulfilling life
For
throughout the
sure.
journey.
For sure. For sure.
And so that's for me, like that's part of the reason why it's like so important to kind of prioritize these relationship type skills. Um, these people, getting every situation where you have someone getting a divorce
Hmm.
and you're splitting half, Well, when you make 70,000, that's 35,000. That's gonna hit you. That's,
Yep.
your wealth building is squelched at that point.
It sure is.
So we have to start building relationships in a way that our eyes are open, we're observant, we're looking for reciprocity.
Right.
I have wonderful gifts to give. And
Hmm.
I know that. I knew that as a single person. I have wonderful things to give because I am a wife without a husband.
Right.
And so I need to find a husband who wants to
Yep.
who wants to provide, who
Hmm.
wants to be present, and who has a program that I can respect.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know, I've been taught this my whole life. I've had to express this on my platform is this is what I've been taught my whole life. This is what I've witnessed with my mother. This is what I've witnessed with my grandmother. All of the aunts in my mother's family, this is how we have done it. This is how we've done it, passed down for generation to generation. And all of us being high quality women, women of value, women, like you said, who have a lot to offer. They have a lot to offer to a healthy masculine man, to a leader, to a man who has purpose, a man who has vision, and we just come right alongside him. We come right alongside him and we exponentially like blow up whatever it is he's given to us. We multiply it over and over and over. So they know my story. Yeah, they know my story. I, met my then husband, and within 6 months, we were engaged. We sat down, we made a plan. He had a vision for his life. He knew what he was going to do and how he was going to do it. He made it very clear to me that he did not want me to work. He was like, nope, I'm looking for a woman who's going to stay at home with my children and take care of my home and my children and me. I was like, me, that's what I want to do. We a good fit. And for 12 years, I married him, stayed at home with all three of our children. Yeah, that I was happy to help him build his empire. Very happy to do that. So they know my story. That's who I am. I am feminine by nature, submissive by nature. I don't consider that a dirty word. I want a strong masculine leader. I want to be able to support a man and his plan. Like that's how I work best. And so right now, kind of by default, now that I'm divorced, I've had to come up with a plan. I'm like, well, dang, I got to come up with something. Like, I got to do something in the interim while I'm waiting for my husband. Because, like you
Hmm.
said, I feel very much the same way. I am a wife without a husband. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, they know my
Yeah.
story. So that's why I'm like, for all the ladies who do want to be married, you want to be a wife one day, this is an excellent blueprint. This is an excellent blueprint. When I got to this and I said, oh my gosh, this is the blueprint. This is the
Thank you. Thank
blueprint that
you.
everybody, y'all need this. You need this. And so I get fielded those questions a lot too. Well, what is a good wife and what all should I know how to do? And we need a wife academy. And that's why when I saw this, I said, oh, I think this is it. This is the blueprint. This is what, I now need to start telling people. You need to get a copy of this book. You need to read it. There's things you can write in it. Like there's all kinds of things in there that you can write in it. You need to start practicing it, even if you're not married yet. That's it. This is the blueprint right here. Angela, tell us where we can find you, where we can find your book.
For sure. Um, this is the book. I can't see what you're showing them, so I hope you're not just showing them the same thing. But this is the book. It's called The Top Shelf Wife,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got, of course, the reading part that's in it. And at the end of each section, it's got 3 action expansion tips for you.
Mm-hmm.
So as you go through it, it's not a book just to be read.
Right.
It's a book to be read and applied,
Yes.
read and question and reflect,
Mm-hmm.
read and say, okay, how can I use this now going
Yep.
forward?
Yep.
And it's got a lot of references and resources. Normally, when I'm giving a live talk, like I have this crate of books, like there's so
Mm-hmm.
many books that went into this because it was a journey, and it is a journey for all of us. It's a journey of self-discovery. And before, I need to know what my ranges are. You
Yeah.
know, when I first become single, maybe my range was like this. But through experiences and through conversations and through really investing in myself, I widen my range to
Yeah.
a bigger pool of men.
Yeah.
It may make it easier to be able to figure out like who's worth to keep, who's not, who appreciates me, who doesn't. And
Right.
once you get to that level of comfort in your own self, dating becomes less problematic. It
Yep.
becomes less traumatic
Hmm.
because I know I'm only moving in my feminine, and there will be someone who is moving in their masculine that will
That's it.
allow me to come alongside.
That's it.
So I am on Amazon. We are preparing for some specials. So I have my Amazon inventory. I have
All right.
my, right now I have the workbook. It's also on an ebook, and
Hmm.
shortly I'll have an Audible
All right.
available. So that's in the
Good.
works right now. Um, I am on Instagram primarily,
Hmm.
and I am in Chattanooga now, but I actually live in Panama.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm kind of back and forth. I'm kind
Wow.
of back and forth. So I'm so grateful that you invited me on the show,
Yeah.
on your live, because I'm not always here.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Good. And then what's your
yeah, but
website? You have a website?
yes, it's Family Pathways Books.
Okay.
Family Pathways is the set of content that I'm starting to create
Mhm.
because it's just near to my heart, and
Yeah.
that's what is called Family Pathways.
All right.
I also have just a quick plug. I also have a couples book. So if you're with someone,
Yeah.
um, hold on, let me get over here. This book,
Okay.
have you heard of this? Have you seen it before?
So that is what we call required reading.
Yes.
I have gone back and forth with the author quite a bit. Like when my podcast was a thing,
Uh-huh.
I David Data, Dr. Robert Glover, GS Youngblood. Like I have a whole list of what I call required reading, especially for men. And that
Uh-huh.
is one of them. Yeah, that book called The Way of the Superior Man. Yeah, that is required reading for men. If you're a woman, I do recommend you read it also. Okay,
And
so you have a workbook.
this is for
Yeah.
women. This is
Okay.
for women. I have a men's
Awesome.
workbook. So
Yeah.
there's some couples that go through it together. And
Hmm.
so this, I kind of got in my teaching bag
Yeah.
and really formulated transformative questions for a couple to go through in order to figure out how to navigate that polarity
Yeah.
and that support to a man who wants to be and move in his masculine superior self.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah. So
Awesome.
I'm excited about all the projects, but all the
Yeah.
projects have to do with family pathways and building stronger families. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate this. I've had a couple of faithful followers that have been here the whole time, so I'm so appreciative of you all. And I know you got a lot of good information. I hope you took notes, but if you didn't, that means that you need to purchase her book. You need to go to Amazon and you need to purchase this book because I kid you not, this is the blueprint. This is the blueprint for all of you who keep telling me, well, what does a good wife look like, and what skills and what's the this is it. This is it. She gave it to you all tonight, but you need to get the book. You need to read through it and you need to apply and ask yourself those questions and write in it. You need to do the work. But this is it. And just like she said, you don't meet a great guy and then, oh, now I've got to get ready. No, you need to be ready. You need to be ready. And here's the thing about being ready, you emanate that out and that attracts that person to you. See? So
Mm-hmm.
that's how that works. If you are ready, that energy is going to go out, and then those men are going to start being attracted to you. So that's what's so great about this is you get this, you start working on it now, you get confident, you get self-assured, and then that energy goes out and men are like, "Oh, who is this? What's going on over here?" See? So that's I want you all to check it out.
Yeah, it's I'm thankful that you've seen so much value in the book.
Yes.
Um, and I hope and pray that your readers, your um, content followers, can also kind of connect with it and really just have fun in the journey to building their confidence and building who they are in relationships.
All right. They want me to, let me see if I can pin this. There we go. All right. So the name of the book is The Top Shelf Wife. And there is a subtitle. It's longer, but The Top Shelf Wife. Okay, there we go. Yep. All right. I want you to check that out. Okay. But a big part of this, which I think it was interesting that you mentioned this, was once you have this blueprint and you really start embodying all of this, is that confidence. Like you said, that confidence that comes along with, I bring a whole lot. I can't be with just anybody. Like to
Right, and
me, right, that makes
the
it easy.
shenanigans, the
Yeah,
shenanigans start dwindling.
yeah,
Like
they do.
it's amazing. It's amazing that the
Yep,
spirit of yourself has such a great impact on people that don't even say anything. Like
yep,
you've not even spoken, but they see the shenanigans and they're like, "Ooh, I can play shenanigans here."
yep.
And
You
then
can.
and there you go. And
So
there
you
you
can.
go.
Yeah, I'm good. So that I love that you added that because yes, that's what I'm always telling women is once you get that confidence, that self-worth, that self-esteem, it's easy. It's easy to tell men that are not good for you. No, it's very easy.
Yeah.
But for me, it's leadership. If I don't see leadership in a man, I'm out. I'm good. Like, and I've had men say, "Well, dang, Anita, you're not even." No, I can't do it. Like, I need frame. I need masculine frame. I cannot be with a passive man. If I ask you a direct question and you say whatever you say, I'm good. Like that's it. I'm done. And they're like, well, darn, you don't even. If I say, so what do you think we should eat tonight? I don't know. What do you think? Yeah, I'm good. Here we go.
I'm not even hungry anymore.
Nope, nope. And that's how I know I am deeply feminine, deeply submissive. I cannot do it. I cannot be with a passive man. So that's just me. That's how I work. That's how I work.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to thank you all who stayed with us, especially my loyal followers. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Please go follow Dr. Angela, and I want you to also pick up a copy of her book. All the women who joined tonight, I want you to get the blueprint. Okay, this is going to edify you up and build you up, and then you're gonna be ready. And like I said, it's going to draw these men to you. It's going to draw these men to you, and then you're ready. You're ready to be a wife. All right. Thank you so much, Angela, for joining me tonight. Thank you all
My
for being
pleasure.
here. Yes, you're welcome. I appreciate you. And as always, stay open to love.
Thank you.